I see your face.
You're good, Deborah. I see your whole face.
Right.
Yeah.
Where are you, Deborah?
Hi, Michael.
As soon as
Hello.
our director gets off the phone, we'll open the meeting.
Oh, there you go. Jeez, everything's
He's
falling.
still on the phone. He's still muted.
Oh, you talking to David. Ooh.
All right, he's
All right.
working on it, so I don't know, maybe give him a minute or two if you want.
All I can see is a chair for Deanna. Oh, there she is.
I had to go mix something on the stove.
Oh, we know what dinner at your house.
You're cooking, Deanna?
What's for dinner, Deanna?
Oh, we have nice sausage that's going to be in the yolk. What do you call those buns? Those long buns, and then some fresh sautéed mushrooms and onions with some, of course, some hot sauce on top. Jalapeno
kind?
peppers.
Oh my God.
Oh, you want to open the meeting if he's going to catch up?
It's up to you, sir.
Hoagie ones.
No,
Sorry,
I was
can
hitting
you
my
hear my
talking.
phone?
We can give him a couple more minutes. I see, maybe he's coming on now.
I think I'm gonna get a water too.
Okay. Oh, I better mute myself. I'm laughing.
So Craig, I can confirm that is David Rappaport under attendees. Looks like he was not able to log in as a panelist, so if you can push him through.
There he is. I see his name, but he's muted.
Oh yeah, there he is. Yeah. There you are. Oops. Almost.
Technology is wonderful, isn't it? It's technology.
All right, there we go.
There he is. Hi, Dave.
Oh, David.
Hi, David.
I figured it out.
Welcome.
All right, we've got everybody here, so want to welcome everybody to the meeting, and please join us with a pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Durante,
present.
Folks,
Present.
Rappaport,
Present.
Richards,
Present.
Sharp,
Present.
Spizak,
Here.
Scatchow,
Present.
Williams,
Present.
and Wilson.
Here.
Yep.
Approval of minutes.
So
So
moved.
moved. Support.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson, was supported by Commissioner Spizak. Since they both said at the same time, roll call, please.
Roll call to approve the minutes of August 5th, 2020. Durante,
Yes.
Folks,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Spizak,
Yes.
Scatchow,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you. At this time of our meeting, if there's anything that's not on the agenda to bring up, this would be the time. I see nothing. We'll move into our first case, which is case 2242 public hearing for the proposed rezoning from office spaces to light industrial, 1651 South Benoit. Mr. Ayub, or President, Planning Director Ayub.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second to do that here. Screen 1. You guys got it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Subject parcel here is the site of a vacant medical office building located on the east side of South Benoit and north of Palmer Road. The parcel is currently zoned office business and is approximately 1.55 acres. The property was recently purchased by the two petitioners who are requesting to rezone the property to I-1 light industrial in order to use the property for two separate contractor storage yard businesses, which are permitted under the industrial zoning classification only. So the petitioners are purchased the building together, and they are planning to split the building, and one is going to use one side and the other is going to use the other side. And I think they might have already kind of done that. The first contractor storage yard is related to a hard surface flooring business. I know for certain that there is some tiling involved. And the second is for a ventilation cleaning business. So with these storage yard facilities, storage yards or facilities, you tend to have storage of materials that the businesses are going to be using, storage of vehicles and other type of equipment that tends to go sometimes into the parking lots. Again, they're industrial type businesses. So I did note here that there's some vehicle and equipment related to the contractor storage businesses that will be stored. I'm not entirely sure what those are. I did not ask for specifics. I did include adjacent land use and zoning of the area in your backup to give you a better idea of what's going on. There are no industrial zoning districts or businesses in the immediate area or within several hundred feet, 1,000 feet, I'm sorry, maybe even up to a half mile or even a mile of this area. The property is located in a residential shopping district close. When I say residential shopping district, I mean small shopping areas that are directly kind of catering to the adjacent residential community in the area. And again, is not well suited for industrial activities. There are no industrial zoning districts or land uses, again, in the general area. When rezoning a property to industrial, you not only approve the proposed uses, which you guys know, but also open the property up to a variety of industrial uses, all of which potentially are permitted by right or by special land use in the industrial zoning district. So you're not approving these two uses, you're opening it up to all of those uses permitted in the industrial category. So in summary, I guess, introducing uses not consistent or compatible with the surrounding areas will lead to negative impacts over time as it relates to land suitability of adjacent either commercial or residential properties, and lead to negative impacts, whether impacts on the environment, traffic, aesthetics of the area, infrastructure, or potential influence again on adjacent property. And in addition to that, the master plan designates this as neighborhood commercial and office services in the future land use map. And therefore, the administration and planning department are recommending denial of this rezoning request for those reasons. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, this is an aerial site shot, and this is a survey that we asked for during rezoning cases. I think that's it.
Is the petitioner online? Is the petitioner online?
You know what? I don't actually see anyone. I don't see them. No.
All right. Well, we can't question them, so we'll move into the commissioners. We'll open it up to the commission right now. Commissioner Spezak?
There are no questions.
I have one, Andy.
Go ahead.
Mr. AU, through the chair to Mr. AU.
Yeah.
The residents notified on the south side of Palmer to this petition.
Residents were notified within 300 feet, in addition to notices in the newspaper and in the bulletin board here at City Hall. I can't answer that at the moment. Let me pull up a map really quickly. Just give me a second.
There are homes on the south side of Palmer. I just
Shut up.
they are within 300 feet.
Yeah, they're literally directly across the street. Yeah, so they should have been noticed. Yes, they were noticed. Some of the properties directly behind, well, that kind of share property line with the Palmer right of way were noticed. Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. That's what I needed to know.
Sure.
Any other comments for Commissioner Durante?
No.
Any other comments?
Mr.
Commissioner
Rappaport.
Rappaport?
Yeah, just a quick question. I was going to raise a lot of these concerns myself, being on the zoning board of appeals. I'm quite sensitive to the issue of opening up a can of worms that you can't necessarily close. But I was wondering, without the actual petitioner present, is it appropriate for us to be making a decision here without their input?
So they were
Or is it
invited,
more
and
appropriate to
every
take-
other petitioner is present. It is required that they be present. However, if they are not present, then the planning commission has the authority to act in whatever way it wants. Again, this is a recommendation to the city council, so I will notify them tomorrow morning, whatever you choose to do.
All right, very well then. Then I'll concede the floor back to my colleague for the motion.
Commissioner Spezak?
Yes, based on the aforementioned facts and analysis, the administration, planning department, and planning commission recommend that this petition be forwarded to the city council with a recommendation for denial.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Spezak, supported by Commissioner Wilson. Roll call, please.
Roll call vote to deny the proposed rezoning at 1651 South Benoit. Durante,
Yes.
Folks,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Vote yes to deny.
Richards,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Spezak,
Yes,
Stachow,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll move into our next case, which is also a public hearing. It's case 2241A, public hearing for the proposed rezoning from OB office to CB3, the properties on Michigan Avenue that was formerly Eloise property. Mr. Ayu.
All right, this is an extension of the case we heard last month at the Eloise Psychiatric Hospital. So now that the land is divided in this manner, he is now requesting to rezone each individual parcel, these classifications here, all of which are CB3, and then this is the mid-rise residential back here with separate access off of Henry Ruff through that easement. I'll read the case for anyone watching at home or on Zoom. The subject parcel is the site of the former Eloise Psychiatric Hospital located on the north side of Michigan Avenue between Merriman and Henry Ruff. The existing parcels are zoned R5, single family residential and office business. I did not include office business in your backup. That's my mistake, but it is zoned office business as well, and was recently divided into 5 separate parcels ranging between 2.395 acres and 4.262 acres. The land division and rezoning requests will pave the way to redevelop the site into a mixed-use development that includes a haunted hotel, coffee and ice cream shop, museum, a multi-family residential structure, and other unidentified or unknown commercial uses. The proposed uses are not permitted under the existing zoning districts, and this rezoning will further facilitate that mixed-use development. I included some details of the parcel sizes from the land division, including their zoning district, which is the same thing really identified here on the screen. Something you, the Planning Commission, does not know, and potentially John does not know. I'm working with the RTA, the Regional Transit Authority, that is also working on several different commuter lines throughout the state, well, the region rather. And one of those is Michigan Avenue from Ann Arbor to Corktown or downtown Detroit. And a stop was identified in this area, either at Wayne Road in the city of Wayne or at Merriman Road in the city of Westland. And the RTA, after hearing about the potential hotel at this parcel, in addition to the vacant land, which presents an opportunity for parking and additional transit-oriented development, looks like they're going to decide as Merriman will be the stop instead of Wayne. So just wanted to share that with you all, and John, if you didn't know. That's it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is the petitioner available to speak? Is the petitioner available to speak?
I see John Hambrick on the phone or on the call. Correct.
John, are you there?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Sharp, I am here.
We can barely hear you, sir.
Is that better?
A little bit.
I'll try to get closer to my microphone.
Okay. Anything you wish to add, sir?
First of all, I would like to thank you guys for your time and your support on the land split. Mo, thank you for the information on the RTA. I think that will only benefit the project as I'm trying to attract businesses to the area. Just that we are very excited about the project, and we can't wait to get started. And, you know, I'm available to answer any questions any of you might have.
All right, do we have any questions from the commissioner? And then we'll open up to general public too. Commissioner Wilson.
Good afternoon. Once again, I am excited about this situation and what's going to happen over there at Eloise, the former Eloise. I'll always call it Eloise. I noticed that they've been working over there cleaning out part of the building behind D building. I think that's fantastic. The roof is no longer at a slant. It's actually gone. So I think that's wonderful. And if there are no questions, any other questions or comments, I'm prepared to make the motion.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Open it up in case somebody was on there. Yes, Commissioner Stackhouse.
Yes. Through to the petitioner. Yeah, these other structures that are going to be put up, do you have any idea what those might be? Are they going to be storage areas or additional portions of the business, or do you have plans for that at this time?
Through the chair, Commissioner Stachow, our hope is to attract more retail, more business. We don't really believe that a storage unit would be advantageous for the site. We believe the hotel and the event space and then the firehouse will be able to generate foot traffic, which will allow potential retailers to say, you know, this has traffic at the site, and we're hoping to attract retail. I think that's the best use for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay, Commissioner Folks.
To the petitioner, can you tell us how the haunted hotel is going to work? I'm just curious how that works.
Through the chair. So the legend of the building, of the K Beard building, is it's already haunted. I've had some experiences there. In fact, I've had my daughter there, and she got her hair pulled standing by herself on the 5th floor. There's been so much evidence caught on camera, and just my business partner got grabbed and hissed at. So the haunted aspect is already there. And we've caught stuff. There's a lady named Rose that is still in the building. We catch her on the spirit box all the time singing. She has a beautiful voice. She's very, very calm, and she sings. And she's been caught on several occasions on the spirit box. She'll just chime in and start singing. And we've had mediums tell us that Rose is there, and she's very gentle. And so that piece is already there. But with the hotel, what we want to do is we want to theme it kind of 1931, right? Kind of set it back. I don't want to change the original floor plan. The front of the building used to be where the doctors and nurses actually lived on property. So there's a bedroom with a sink and a closet in there. And then they had the shared bathroom concept. So I'd kind of like to keep that concept of, I'd rather have it be more of an experience than kind of your average everyday hotel, right? So we were talking to an investment banker a couple weeks ago, and they had done a lot of research on the next generation, and that's really what they're searching for, is to stay in places where they have an experience, so they can post it on their Instagram and their Facebook and all their social media stuff, and tell their friends about it and experience it. So the plan is to keep it, and Eloise, the name is not going away. It's gonna be the Eloise Hotel. I think that's the iconic piece to the project, right? You can't get rid of the Eloise name. In fact, we just got a replica of the portrait. We're having framed now to hang back in the lobby of the original portrait that hung in the lobby for, I don't know, 100 years. So we really want to bring the original luster, make the lobby area. We want to restore it historically. I have a plaster contractor that did a lot of stuff at the Fox. He's done a lot of stuff at the Masonic Temple. Super excited about restoring it to its original luster. It's all marble and granite in that lobby. So it could be really, really a neat check-in for the guests. So, and then we're gonna do event space. So there's different events that happen around, the paranormal world. That one of the largest events that St. Marie, it's over 2,000 attendees, and it's in a convention center for all these guys that are into the paranormal. So I would like to capture some of them events. Believe it or not, we've already had somebody get married on the front steps since we've owned it. They just wanted to be married at Eloise. So I think it could really attract different events to the building, because it's a really cool building. I mean, it just is. And people they love it. They absolutely love the history of the site, and they love the old architecture. And so I don't want to change the look. And I feel like if you can bring it back to the 1931 era, that would be really, really unique, and it would make it a destination. So that's really the concept we're going after.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this? It's a public hearing. Anyone? Anyone in the audience? Commissioner Wilson, we'll come back to you for the motion.
Thank you. I make a motion to close the public hearing waive the normal rules and send case number 2241A to the city council with a recommendation of approval.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson. Was that Commissioner Richards?
Yes.
Supported by Commissioner Richards. Roll call, please.
Roll call vote to approve the proposed rezonings at the former Eloise property, case 2241. Durante,
Yes.
Folks,
Yes.
Rappaport,
Yes.
Richards,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Spezak,
yes,
Stachow,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll move into our next case, which is also a public hearing. It's case number 1258E, public hearing for the proposed special land use for the Octapharma blood plasma clinic. Mr. Ayu.
Who supported the previous motion? I'm sorry.
This last one was Commissioner Richards.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. All right. Subject site here is located at the southeast corner of Ford Road and Wayne. The property is approximately 1.5 acres and is zoned CB3, General Commercial Business District. As you know, the site contains a vacant building, formerly Rite Aid, and the building is determined to be in fairly good, decent shape. The proposed request is to renovate and use the entire building as a blood plasma donation clinic. Blood plasma donation clinics are permitted in the CB3 district, subject to special land use approval as of a couple of weeks ago. And I'll quickly summarize through the staff report, and then there's a staff summary that I'd like to go into more detail with. So as it relates to traffic, there are no modifications being proposed for ingress and egress of the site. So they're utilizing existing curb cuts, traffic aisles, and things like that. The clinic is expected to obviously generate new traffic to the site that was currently vacant. The drive-through window will be removed. In addition to, I assume, the stacking spaces for it as well. The parcel is developed as part of a previously approved site plan and is determined to be in compliant with screening and parking areas. A screening wall exists along the south and east sides, constructed with a similar brick that is used on the building today. And the location of the lawns and landscaping along the roads there is also in compliance. I'd like to go back to parking just a bit. There was a question raised about the amount of parking. So there's 74 spaces being provided. I really quickly did this, but I'm certain that they are in compliance with parking, although the numbers might be a little bit off. So 74 parking spaces in total. And the required with the florist are 69. The facility will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. There was also a question about how many beds are going to be in there, and I think the floor plan had indicated 40 or 42. 42 beds is the count. The master plan future land use designation for the site is community commercial. I included exact word for word what the master plan describes that area as in your backup. And then as it relates to the staff summary and basically what the recommendation is based off of, primarily, the proposed use is not consistent with the 2018 master plan future land use designation, which is the community commercial, and is not consistent with the objectives for the development of the DDA. primarily again for consistency with the future land use map. The future land use plan, for those of you who may not know, is a guide to physical development of the city. It provides direction on land use decisions for the area or whatever area it's designated for or we're talking about. Land use regulations such as special land use approvals must be consistent with the future land use map. Actually, I think it's one of the special land use criterias that the petitioner must meet. The 2018 master plan and future land use plan was created with the guidance of significant public participation from the community's residents and business owners, and therefore it delivers and reflects the community's vision for future land uses. And I think master plans, I'm pretty sure that master plans are required to have a future land use plan in them. And if you don't know, master plans are required. A community is required to have a master plan and update that master plan every 5 years. Ours was in 2018, the update. Blood plasma donation clinics are used for the extraction of blood plasma, or other blood components from human beings for commercial purposes or potentially nonprofit purposes, and even for medical manufacturing and scientific research and testing. The proposed location, which is in the DDA, is not well suited for a laboratory type environment similar to a blood plasma donation clinic. The master plan designates this property to be used for uses consistent with the community commercial future land use designation, and the proposed use is not consistent with that designation. One of the goals of the master plan is to maintain and improve the character of neighborhoods adjacent to commercial corridors. There's a residential neighborhood to the south, and not only through the redevelopment, but also through the reoccupancies of adjacent vacant retail spaces, which is what this is. And again, it stresses the importance of being consistent with the future land use designation. This proposal is not consistent with that, and mostly based on that analysis alone, and for not meeting all the standards for special land use approval, the staff, administration, and planning department are recommending denial of this petition. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. We'll open up this. Is our petitioner available? Is there a petitioner available?
Petitioner's on the call, Michael, and I believe Carrie is the owner of the business.
Hello, can you
Michael,
all?
are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
Coming through clearly?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Great.
Any comments you wish to have in regards to our planning director, Mr. Ayub?
Yes, please, if I could. And Chair, if you would indulge me, I sent Mr. Ayub earlier today a little PowerPoint I would like to run through that addresses a little bit of things that members of this commission have probably seen the first time I came through, but also addresses obviously our new request for special land use approval and some additional facts. If you would, if the chair would allow me to give that presentation, I'd most greatly appreciate it.
Sir.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mo. So it's nice to be before the commission again tonight. One of these times, maybe it will be in person. Again, my name is Michael Vogt. I'm an attorney with the Dykema Law Firm. I'm representing Octapharma Plasma for their proposed plasma donation center at 35363 Ford Road. And as Mr. Ayub indicated, we're here tonight to ask for your recommendation for approval on a special land use permit. I am also joined here tonight on the Zoom line by Carrie Klisch, who's the Director of Facilities for Octapharma, and cannot answer any technical, company, or site-specific questions. But I'm also joined here tonight by the property owners, our hopefully future landlord's broker, David Rea, who's been the broker who's listed this site since it became vacant in 2018. And he can elaborate and answer any questions you might have about potential tenants or his efforts to market the property. As you've seen in the application materials, he also authored a letter which was attached as Exhibit C and really addressed a lot of those same topics. If you could go to the next slide, please, Mr. Ayub. So, as I said, some of this information will be a little bit duplicative in the beginning, but for people who may not have been able to join us or other members of the public who have concerns about the proposed use, I want everyone to have the full scope of the information. So briefly, Octapharma has now over 112 facilities across 29 states. It says here, as you see, we collect, test, and supply blood plasma that's used in the manufacturing in numerous life-saving medicines. If you could go to the next slide, please. Plasma is probably talked about more so in the news now than it has been, at least in my memory, for its involvement in our fight against COVID-19 and the creation of therapeutic remedies and research in trying to further understand the virus. But in addition to that, kind of immediate and critical function, plasma donations used for a number of other important uses to create medicines for rare, genetic, and chronic diseases, just to name a few. Next slide, please. And this slide, which I don't know if you saw before or not, gives you a little extra information about our typical average plasma donor that we see come into our facilities. As you can see, the age range is quite wide. The motivations range from people trying to supplement their income to people just more altruistically trying to contribute to the greater good and furthering medical research and medicinal creations. Everyone who comes in must be in good health. This is verified by a physical exam done on site. You have to have valid photo ID, as proof of a social security number, and a proof of their residence. And that just kind of gives you just a basic overview of who our clientele is. If you could go to the next slide, please. This slide, I know you saw last time, those of us who were with us for that meeting. In addition to the important role in the medicinal world and in medical uses, Octapharma also really brings a tremendous immediate economic impact to the communities where it operates. Notably, this one donation center will create about 50 new jobs in Westland. And with those 50 new jobs, they'll pay, as you see in the upper left-hand corner, $2 million a year in annual wages. And I don't want to bore you with math, but paying $2 million in wages to 50 employees, amounts to this not just being, a bunch of minimum wage jobs. This provides, a number of jobs that provide livable wages, which obviously is very important in a time with record unemployment. If you could go to the next slide, please. And of course, Octapharma's facilities are regulated on a national and international scale. They're all operated by local but professionally trained staff in compliance with all federal laws, regulations, and local laws and regulations. Every facility is safe. Everyone is clean and comfortable. And as you'll see on the next slide here, they're all designed as a first-class medical facility that you picture. And that's exactly what you see here. You see some interior examples of the kind of quality design and construction that goes into their donation centers when they repurpose existing structures or build out new ones. If you could go to the next slide, you'll just see a little bit more of the same on the interior, but with also a dose of a handful of our exterior finishes from around the country as well. And I'll actually be able to show you a much more poignant one of a repurposing of another Rite Aid here, which was part of our application material. Just a minute. If you go to the next slide, please. So we talked a little bit about who Octapharma is and their history and what they do. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the property itself. As Mo already alluded to, we have a former Rite Aid site that was approved back in 1998. That tenant stayed until 2018, and the property has sat vacant since that time. And it is currently zoned CB3, which is affords maybe the broadest range of commercial uses under the ordinance that are allowable. Okay, you could go to the next slide, please. Again, same picture of the property here, but just a few more details about the site. You have the size, which is a very large building, as was noted in the broker's letter attached to the application. It's sat vacant for the last 2 years, despite good faith, best marketing efforts We've had no interest from replacements for this type of use, CVS and Walgreens specifically, or from dollar store tenants. And more specifically, as I'll talk about in a minute, we've never had an inquiry from a single restaurant potential tenant. If you could go to the next slide, please. Well, and I don't know why I had some quotes pulled out on the slide that I sent over. So let me pull up my version. Something got lost in translation when I sent it to Mo here. So this was a cover of the letter that was attached as Exhibit C. And I pulled out 4 quotes on the left just to kind of back up the points that I made on the last page. And since they don't appear to be on the slide, I'll go ahead and just quickly read them. Basically, the broker, David Rea, who's been listing the property for 2 years, he detailed his efforts in saying, quote, I reached out to both CVS and Walgreens to apprise them of this availability. Neither one of these drug companies was interested in the location. His next quote was that, Family Dollar, Dollar Castle, and Dollar General all declined both in 2018 and again when he reached out to them in 2019. And then he goes on to say that with regard to restaurants, he, quote, I haven't not had a single inquiry from a restaurant user of any kind for this site. Further, is my opinion, the likelihood of a restaurant user being interested in this site is quite small, given the size and configuration of the building, as discussed above. This has only been compounded by the mandated shutdown, limited and regulated reopening of restaurants, and concerns about the possibility of further waves of government mandated shutdown. And the last quote that I pulled in there was that he concluded, the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and the associated shutdown has effectively dried up the leasing market since March of this year, at the end of that quote. I'll get into it in a moment why we addressed the restaurants, but it was specifically because the city had, directly communicated to us that that was an interest of the city and something they would like to see happen there. And I understand that desire. It's perfectly understandable, but we wanted to address that with the realities of the situation here and with somebody who has the firsthand knowledge of what's out there for a potential market for this space. If you could go to the next quote, or to the next slide, please, rather. With this slide, everything came through great. I just wanted to highlight just a few of the benefits that Octapharma's donation center would bring with it at this location. First and foremost, you have appearance and aesthetics. You can see in a first bullet point here, as I mentioned a moment ago, Octapharma has repurposed multiple Rite Aid locations, eliminating what could be a vacant eyesore in a high traffic area and repurposing it with what you see on the top image here. And actually just kind of luckily, one of the sites, Rite Aid sites they recently repurposed has a very similar size, shape, and layout. So this gives a very good kind of real firsthand look that you can kind of touch, taste, and feel as to what this site would look like compared to what it looks like currently, which is a picture in Google Earth on the bottom slide. In addition to the aesthetics, you have a site that has, creates less traffic congestion than the previous site of a Rite Aid. Because their customers don't turn over nearly as quickly as a Rite Aid, and there's the lot would be used much less frequently, and there's no drive-through anymore. You have a site that has no external noise, no smoke, no odor, or any other issues that might be considered a nuisance. And you have a use that really, it is a customer-facing use that brings people into its business, and it brings in, those people will become customers for neighboring businesses. I mean, just like the CSL plasma that's in also in Westland, in a strip mall with restaurants, with a multitude of uses. This is something that brings people in and will provide clientele for surrounding commercial uses. And the other thing, obviously, as you'll see here, everything's maintained in a first class way, from the signage down to the landscaping. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. And now that I've covered a little bit about the site's history and what we propose for its future to be, wanted to address our special land use request. So to kind of sum things up, it's been kind of a long process already. I know this is just a first hearing on a request for a special land use permit, but we first inquired about this site back in the spring and received a letter from the planning department, which is provided in full here, although the only material language is in that middle paragraph where it says that we are classified as a special land use in the CB3 General Commercial Business District. And then about a week or so after that, my client representative inquired about this site and kind of why the city thought that this might not be the best site for this location. And that bullet point at the very bottom is an excerpt from the email that we received, explaining that it is on a prime corner in our DDA and is a building we'd like occupied with a high-end restaurant or a store similar to Rite Aid that previously existed. We've had interest in various style restaurants with outdoor seating. I don't know exactly what that last sentence means. I'm guessing it means the city's had interest in having that sort of use there because as Mr. Rea, wrote in his letter and can elaborate on tonight if anyone has any questions, that type of use is simply just not a reality in large part because of the size and shape of this building, but also because of the devastated market, especially for a restaurant. So since then, we've done a few things. And I'll get to this next slide in just a second. The first thing we did was we asked to be added to the list of permitted uses in CB3. And that was in large part because we learned that CSL plasma in 2017 had been approved as a use permitted by right administratively. So we asked if we could have that same treatment. And when that was denied, then we asked, okay, could we be added to the use of permitted lists, which is a ZBA function, and which is why I was before this commission back in July, which the commission at that time I know recommended a denial of our request, but also I recall multiple members indicating that this use should be brought back up in the future under a special land use context, which brings us here tonight. And in the meantime, as Mr. Ayub pointed out, the City Council has approved an amendment to the ordinance, which now officially makes blood plasma donation centers a use permitted as a special land use in the district where we are currently sitting, CB3. There are 6 general standards under the ordinance for special land use approval, and some of those have a few subparts to them. And of all the 6 and all of their subparts, the city staff report, and as Mr. Ayub summarized, finds that this proposed use does meet all of the typical and all of the standards under the special land use analysis, except under the staff's opinion, special land use standard number 4, which is quoted here at the bottom. It says, the proposed special land use will be consistent with general objectives of the 2018 City of West End Master Plan. And I added the emphasis on general objectives because I think it's important to point out that it says that a special land use has to be consistent with the general objectives of the plan. It does not say that it needs to require a proposed special land use to meet every objective and goal or stated vision of the master plan. If we go to the next slide, please. And so it's our position, and our position that Michigan law is that a master plan is just that. Not that it's not an important guiding tool in zoning, but it is a plan, a vision for potential development in the future. And what the ordinance says here, as I just noted, was that a use must be consistent with the general objectives of the master plan. It doesn't say that it has to meet every objective and goal or criteria. And moreover, this master plan, and no master plan for that matter, or future land use map, they do not set forth standards and criteria that the applicant must meet in order to be approved for a special land use. Those standards are, as set forth in the current ordinance under the current zoning district. And we have satisfied all those as reflected in the administration's report, but for their interpretation of how the master plan should be woven into this analysis. And even more so, even if I would also disagree that with the conclusion that we don't further the general objectives of the master plan. You might be able to parse words and find something in the master plan that a proposed plasma donation center doesn't fit into. But when it comes to the general objectives, I believe that we very much further those goals. It's not as if this property is earmarked to become residential under the master plan or the future land use map. Those documents contemplate this area will very much remain commercial and provide for a wide range of commercial services. Indeed, the future land use designation here is commercial or community commercial, which I believe, just like the CB3, will allow for the widest range of commercial uses in any district in the city. The master plan also contemplates, which is noted here on this excerpt from our application materials, another general objective, to recognize the shift from the old economy to the new economy. which they've described as, quote, a global entrepreneurial knowledge-based economy where business success comes increasingly from the ability to incorporate knowledge, technology, creativity, and innovation into their products and services. Well, Octapharma is exactly that. They are a high-tech, state-of-the-art, global company that is helping further medical innovation every single day. And the last point I want to make about the master plan, and I think it's a very important one, and Mr. Ayub even alluded to this, is that the city of Westland took into account its residents' thoughts and feelings and opinions when it drafted that document. And it contains a lot of language addressing those concerns and what people really wanted to see in the master plan. And what you see is that when you look through those survey responses, is that eliminating blight is at or near the very top of almost every response that they got with regard to what the city what the citizens see as challenges facing the city and what they would like to see future development address. I will try and wrap things up based on that signal. But whether they're well maintained or not, vacant buildings are what people consider to be blight. And when you drive down a very busy intersection and a highly traversed commercial corridor, and you see something that stands alone and really can't be hidden, a highly visible vacant building, that is blight. And unfortunately, blight can lead to more blight. So if more than anything, repurposing this vacant building that has sat vacant for 2 years, and in all honesty, it forecast to sit vacant for quite some time, and eliminating a highly visible vacant building with a first-class commercial use absolutely furthers the general objectives of the master plan, which you can't say, at least a large portion of them, isn't to redevelop vacant properties and to eliminate blight. I would go next slide, the last one I need to really talk about in any great detail. I think that's true, maybe there's one more. But this is a table pulled right from the master plan, and you'll see it has a column for the existing zoning districts and then what those zoning districts are contemplated to be under the future land uses. And I put this here because I want to talk about it because it's hard under these future land use designations. It is really hard to see where Octapharma's use could ever be allowed at any location, anywhere in the city, if we're interpreting the ordinance the way we are today. And I say that because if it doesn't fit into the CB3 zoning district, where the city has specifically now said that it is a permitted special land use, then there's nowhere it can go. Because and if a denial is based purely on the fact that it might be zoned community commercial in the future, a designation that also is the broadest form of commercial allows the broadest scope of commercial uses, then it eliminates all potential locations essentially for Octapharma to bring its business to Westland. And what amounts to, and as Mr. Rappaport can confirm and the other city council, amounts to what's known as exclusionary zoning. And where we have, and in this situation, I think that we really are left in a situation with our hands tied where there's nowhere under this analysis that this property would be permitted. And that's really not a valid or a basis for a decision that can be upheld. And we can go to the next slide. This is something I just want to point out quickly. We're not here tonight, of course, to argue that it should be permitted by right or that this use is permitted by right. That is settled at this point as far as the city's decisions are made. But I wanted to cite to something from the administrative report that was read here tonight by Mr. Ayub. And the report draws the distinction between our use and a typical medical office, saying that we are not like a medical office. We do things that are different than a medical office, and we do some things that are different than a medical office. I'm not here to say that we're two peas in a pod. But what it goes on to say is that this property is, quote, not well suited for a laboratory type environment similar to a blood plasma donation clinic. Well, up here I've listed 5 or 6 uses that are just unequivocally permitted by right in the CB3. They're not special land use requirements. And the medical offices, okay, you want to say we're not one, we're a special land use. But the third one down, laboratories, medical, and dental. I mean, I don't know how you could say you can't go here because you're more like a medical laboratory when the CB3 zoning district itself says that medical laboratories are permitted by right, not by special land use, but by right. So that's kind of why I've wanted to draw this all back in together to show that I do believe we could have been permitted by right as CSL was done. And then I do believe now that we've submitted evidence into the record that shows that we've satisfied all of the special land use categories. And if the sole basis for denial, as it seems to be, or a recommendation for denial, is that we don't meet the general objectives of the future land use map or the master plan, then I don't think there is, that's a supportable basis to recommend denial, given the facts and the record and evidence here. I'll go to the next slide, which is, I believe, the final slide. And this is where I thank you for allowing me to take up 20 minutes of your time talking about this proposed site. Obviously, as I wrap up, I wanted to reiterate that this will serve the vital role of reoccupying a very highly visible property that's sat vacant for multiple years. It has the potential to do so for many more to come with today's market. It will bring in a viable, internationally respected business that will bring real jobs and real dollars into Westland's economy immediately, to the tune of over $5 million a year, as noted earlier. So for these reasons and the evidence that's in the record, I would ask you to please recommend approval based on our meeting the special land use standards. And as I said, I have myself, Mr. Klisch, and Mr. Ray here that should be able to address any questions the members of the commission have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Voigt. I must say that you represent yourself and your company very well. This is a public hearing. We'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the general public that wishes to speak on this? Anyone in the general public that wishes to speak? Anyone? We will open it up to commissions. Commissioner Spizak?
I'm prepared to make a motion if there are no questions.
Well, I think there's likely other questions. Commissioner Wilson, we'll get back to you, Commissioner Spizak.
All right.
Through the chair, Mr. Ayu, we had some letters from the residents. Should they not be read into the records, or at least acknowledge that they did send in letters?
Sure, yeah, I thought about that. I was hoping that. Sure, yes. So we received 3 letters. They were shared with the commission and they were shared with the applicant. All the letters expressed concern. I don't remember specifics. I'm not going to read all 3 of them, but they were all against the proposed blood plasma donation clinic, special land use. They lived all on Pardo, I believe, which is the street directly behind the proposed facility. Thanks.
So I guess my question to the petitioner through the chair is, was there any contact made with the neighbors in the neighborhood, since in your proposal, it says that you would be an asset to the neighborhood, and I'm trying to find out where that asset would be. And this 2 shifts of 25 to 30 people, hopefully they all drive together, since your parking lot is not going to be able to accommodate just 25 to 30 cars, plus whoever you propose to come in to give blood to do your work with. I'm just curious to this. And I had one other question. And I'm sorry, Andy.
Well, go ahead. I'm listening.
When you say, are you planning on hiring people from Westland who have medical experience as far as drawing blood and situations like that? Or are they coming from outside of the city? Are they coming from your corporate offices? You say you have a place for 50 employees, and I'm just trying to understand where these people are going to come from. Are you training them in doing blood work? I'm just questioning.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mr. Voigt. You can answer that.
I'll answer a portion of it, then I'll turn a portion over to Kerry, because he can handle the employment questions. That's more of a company thing that I might not know about. As far as parking goes, my understanding is that we've complied with the ordinance's requirements for parking capacity based on, you know, we detailed our operations, our number of employees, our hours of operation, you know, in with our site plan materials. So I believe we have sufficient parking, and they certainly would not be coming into, it would not benefit their business to try and open in a place where they, you know, and Carrie could speak to that, where they would have insufficient parking between their employees and their clientele. As for being an asset to the neighborhood, you know, there's the financial impacts that I mentioned a moment ago or in my presentation, but I'll let Carrie talk about their community involvement, because I know they also have a lot of, you know, public interest community involvement efforts that they do annually at all their locations, and on the hiring and where staffing and training comes from. I'll turn it over to you, Carrie, assuming that you're there and can hear me.
I am here. Can the council hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so to add on to that, what kind of asset we are to the neighborhood, for one thing, we're going to take this abandoned building that has sat there for the last 2 years and as an eyesore. And as you saw in the presentation, we just finished completing a Rite Aid renovation in West Columbia, South Carolina. And it was actually even worse in this particular one. And it is like night and day. And we are going to spend about $1.5 million just in renovations and build out of the center. And then we will also spend probably an additional $1 million in outfitting and stocking. So we're usually into it about $2.5 million before we even open for business. We're here long term. We want to be part of this community for many, many years to come. We sign a 10-year lease with 2 5-year options. So we're usually dedicated for 20 years in any spot right off the bat. As far as hiring, we get closer towards the end of our build out, our regional directors and our HR into the local community, and we hold a local hiring fair. We want to hire local people. That is absolutely what makes us successful. Is our employees live in the community, and we just find that to be the most successful way to do any business. The only outsiders, as you, I guess, would want to call it, that have to come in is you know, the specialty type employee, like the center director. That's not something you can just get local unless there's somebody that has enough experience to be able to plug into that role, and some of the regulatory type are local. And yes, we do provide training for phlebotomists right through everything. It's a very long process. When we open, we do what's called a soft opening, and you may know that term. We're not going to ramp up completely. We open slowly, because during that opening process, we're continually training for about 6 to 8 weeks before finally our training staff that opens all our new centers can leave it to the new permanent staff there to be able to run the facility. As far as parking, this particular location is a lot of parking. It's 74 spots. Really, that's we're tickled pink to have that many. We know by stats that only about 80% of our donors actually drive a car. The other 20% are either taking public transportation or they're riding with another donor. And the same with our employees. A lot of them are local, they're taking the bus, or they are also sharing rides. So we do not expect to be any issues with the amount of parking at this particular location. I did want to mention earlier, Mo mentioned that this is going to be a 42-bed center. That's yet to be determined. We have not, we just completed our property condition report, which leads to our test fit of the location. The test fit that we supplied is from the West Columbia location, which is the picture of that right that we just got through renovating. And it's almost identical to this one, and that's why I supplied that one as an example. I don't foresee this one being any larger or smaller than 42 beds. It's going to be right into that range right there, 40 to 42 beds, I would imagine.
At any given time, I'm sorry, through the chair to the petitioner, at any given time, do you actually have 40 beds full?
No, we would love to have 40 beds full and be able to have that many donors come in, but that in reality that no, we don't. That's our max. The beds will be there, especially now with COVID and everything that's going on out there. All the plasma companies across the country are experiencing a huge downturn in donations. So, and obviously that we all hope to change in the near future, but no, we usually do not see full beds.
Okay, this is my last question through the chair to the petitioner. Other than the phlebotomist and the director, what other classification of employee are you going to have in that facility?
So we have the center director will have 2 assistant managers. We have quality assurance, 3 quality assurance people. Then there are, we don't have a receptionist per se. We have the people that work up front that are taking the vitals, they're checking the donors in, that type of thing. There's, depending on what local code and state regulations are, there may be a nurse practitioner, or maybe a doctor on site. That's entirely up to what the local codes are, and I have no idea. That's my regulatory people that deal with that. Then you have obviously the phlebotomists that are working with the donors directly on the donor beds. And then further back, we've got plasma processing. The processors are taking in the plasma, getting it into the system, getting it into the freezer. They're also packing it to be shipped out and whatnot. So we've got a full range of, from a center director right down to just your person that is taking the vitals and greeting the donors and getting them all checked in.
I just elaborate on Commissioner Wilson. I think what she was searching for that I don't think you covered is what kind of requirements are your employees going to have when able to draw blood? You know, you can have all the other areas covered. But
well, you have to be a trained phlebotomist, and that's what we have. You have to be a phlebotomist in order to draw the blood. Yes, and we either get licensed phlebotomists, provide the training and get them licensed.
And how many of those do you normally have on staff?
I'm not sure. Again, that's an operations question. Enough to adequately staff the plasma center of this size. I really don't know if it's 2 per shift or 1 per shift. I don't know. We do have some cross training, so we may have a plasma processor that may also be cross trained as a phlebotomist or that type of.
All right, it seems a little vague, but okay, if you can't, if that's not in your expertise to answer, bro.
Yeah, got a question.
And yet, yes, Commissioner Stackhouse.
Okay, through the chair to the petitioner, there were a couple concerns that I recall through the letters. And number one was the screening process of the people that are going to be entering the building in relationship to maybe how you qualify for the plasma. And also too, is this going to be under a appointment process, or is it just something that's a walk-in? Also too, how often do donors come in relationship to, say, the one person? Can they come every day, or do they go once a month? And then lastly, what is done with the disposal of the materials in regards to these products?
Great questions. I hope I can remember all of those. So please remind me if I get. one. I'll start with the hazardous, the biohazardous material. So it's all disposable needles and tube and whatnot, and they are maintained in a controlled environment within the center. And we have a national account with a company called Stericycle, and they come weekly and pick up the bio waste and dispose of it in accordance with all local, state, and federal regulations. It's maintained in a locked room inside the donor center. It's never outside. It's never exposed to the public. I've already forgotten.
The screening process.
Screening. So for somebody to be able to donate plasma, you have to provide identification of who you are. You have to have an address. In other words, you cannot be homeless. You have to have an address, social security number, and then they go through a very lengthy initial health questionnaire and whatnot. And then we take samples of blood. We're looking at the I'm trying to remember the name of hematocrit. I can never pronounce it properly.
Hematocrit.
Reading, which is similar to when you go to get blood. They, if anybody's ever gone to get blood and they take the readings in your blood and they say, oh, your level is too low, go eat some liver and come back and see us next time. Similar to that, and a whole health questionnaire. They need to be in good health. Had to have eaten a meal and be hydrated. That's really a detrimental if you go to give plasma. You can give plasma every 2 days. So plasma is just the water content of your blood. It carries the very important antibodies that is used to make medicines. So the body regenerates that plasma rather quickly. And although you can, your body will regenerate it in 48 hours. You can give blood twice every 2 days, but only twice a week max. That's by regulation. They cannot give more than 2 times per week. And there's a national registry also that all plasma donors are in. So it prevents a donor from coming to Octapharma Plasma and donating on Monday and then Tuesday walking into CSL and saying, I'm here to donate plasma. So CSL plugs their social into the system, their information into the system, same as when they come in to see us. We're going to see that they are a donor at our competitor and say, no, I'm sorry, you cannot do that. Boy, I'm losing my last.
Yeah, is this on a appointment basis?
That's right. Yeah, so we it is and it is not. So that's a good clear answer, right? So once our donor centers are up and operating, we have our set donor base, and like I say, they're donating twice a week, and we space everybody out. So we don't want everybody coming in Monday morning to donate. So we'll say Joe will come in. Okay, Joe, Monday and Wednesday are your days at 2 p.m. to donate. And Joe may say, well, you know what? I can't come in till 3. Okay, so Monday, Wednesday at 3 is your time. And then, Tim will come in. Okay, Tim, we'd like you to come in Tuesday and Thursday. So we do that to space them out. So we're not hammered with people all coming in on Friday afternoon to donate plasma. So we do that to keep that even. There are walk-ins. We always accept walk-ins. So new donors are walk-in at any given time. But it is more by appointment than anything else. And when I say by appointment is, again, the returning donors know what day and what time they come to donate plasma, and that's when they're showing up.
Yeah, so we're not looking at people just walking in that off the street that have no ID and they just decide that they want to donate.
No, absolutely not. And it's for the initial screening process for new donors is about 2 hours, sometimes even more. So those people that want to walk in and get a quick buck and run out the back door. It's not gonna happen. It's a very rigorous, we're very controlled. And kind of one of the other bonuses that we see with when our company comes in, and I've seen this in several locations, similar to the West Columbia location. When we first looked at this property, there was a lot of tagging, as in graffiti along the walls and whatnot. There were some homeless people that were living in our dumpster enclosure. It was so on top of the aesthetics of us fixing the building up, once there's an active business in the community, the homeless and that tagging and all that, it goes away. They move on. They're not doing that anymore.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
other,
you.
yes, Commissioner Folks? And I'll get to you, Commissioner Williams.
Well, I'm glad that you discussed the donor base. So you're going to have recurrent people or donors coming in. And I just also wanted to address something that I saw in one of the letters from the residents, that they were just fearful that some of your donors would just kind of wander through the neighborhood afterwards. So how can you assure our residents that that's not going to happen? They're not going to see donors just hanging around like you would see at some sort of drug dispensary type thing.
Well,
this is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I cannot say what our donors do when they leave our business any more than any other business can say what their customers do when they leave their building. But I can imagine why a donor is going to go wander around the neighborhoods. They're when they're done donating, they're going to go, and they've got a newly charged card. They're going to get gas. They're going to get groceries. They have just supplemented their income, and they're going to pay bills and whatnot, or they're going home. They're not going to be wandering around the neighborhoods.
I think one thing Carrie mentioned right there is a fairly important fact for this line of questioning, is the fact that these recurrent donors have a charge that gets refilled, like a Visa debit card. So no one's coming in here for a quick handful of cash and then going to roam the neighborhood to figure out how to cause trouble with it. This is a debit system.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other, Commissioner Williams, you had a question?
I guess most of my questions have been answered through this process, but I would agree with the chair's comments earlier regarding the clarity and the intent of your business, but also I guess I would pose, and having had experience with this in the past and seeing some of the benefits of it, what have you seen to the petitioner as some of the biggest stereotypes or perceived challenges that have been overcome as a result of what people perceive as the plasma business? Because I've seen a lot of the benefits as well. And keep in mind, this was a Rite Aid, which had a free in and out prior to this. I'm not sure the circumstances of why that Rite Aid closed, but that's also an uncontrollable crowd. And I've seen that in cities where Rite Aid had became a hangout spot for teenagers, and a lot of them have closed as well. So I think it's the balance that we have to always look at. I do take into account the letters. It's a balance of public concern. But I guess from the petitioner perspective, what have been the biggest stereotypes that you've had to overcome as relates to the business you're in? Because I know the long-term goal is to enhance people's health, but what are the short-term challenges that have been presented to you, be it questions or stereotypes that have prevented the opportunity to present yourself in communities?
That is a great question, and to be honest, the biggest obstacle that we deal with is the stereotype that we're going to bring in the homeless, drug users, and whatnot, coming in to get $20 so they can go buy drugs, and that's just absolutely not true. And the other thing which was just brought up is, well, when the donors leave, what are they doing? Are they going out there hanging out, and being disruptive in the neighborhood? Well, I'd like to mention one thing on about our business and how we deal with our donors and disrupt if they're any being disruptive. So there's a process called deferral. It's a deferral system, it's called. So there's two types of deferrals. One is a permanent deferral, and a permanent deferral means you cannot donate plasma. So if somebody comes in, they donate the plasma, and then we take samples of that plasma, we send it out. If it comes back and it's positive for HIV or syphilis or something like along that lines, they will be, depending on what it is, they could be permanently deferred. So they are notified you're permanently deferred because you're HIV positive, or whatever the case may be. That gets put into that national database. So they cannot, if we defer them permanently, they can't go down to CSL and say, hey, I want to donate. Again, they're going to pull it up and say, oh, well, you cannot because you're HIV positive or whatever. But what also is a strong tool for our management is the deferral process. Is if a donor is not acting properly, if they're being disruptive, they're just not being good corporate citizens that should be as a representative of Octapharma, because they're our donors, then we will defer them. They've shown up there, they want to donate plasma because they want to get their money to supplement their income and be on their way. And if they are in there being disruptive, we will tell them, sorry, you are deferred for today. Go home and think about your actions and properly behave, and then come back on your next time you're due, and you can donate then. And it is done publicly. When I say publicly, it's not somebody gets pulled to the side and told them. They will be right there in the reception room, the reception area. So message to the other donors that Octapharma is not playing. You mess up, you will go over there and start the clown and being a knucklehead. They're going to defer you, and you're not going to be able to donate. So we find that to be a really good tool to control behavior.
Are there any other questions for the commissioners? Oh, Commissioner Richards, yes, I'm sorry, I did see your hand. Now I'll get back to you.
Through the chair to the petitioner, why do you ask for social security number, and how much per year? How much per donation, not yearly?
Okay, I did say social security number, and I don't necessarily know if that's 100% true, because I left my my complete notes at work, and I'm at home right now. But it has to be identification and proof of residence. So I may not be necessarily correct in saying social security number. So,
Carrie, I do have my materials in front of me, although I'm zooming from my basement at the moment, but I do have notes in front of me that confirm that social security number was a requirement. I don't have an explanation, although it's just obviously further verification of the person's real identity, because an ID also can be, I would imagine, because it's much easier to come up with a counterfeit picture ID with the name than it is to falsify an actual social security number.
I think probably the social security number is required because they're getting paid via a debit card. They're basically of Octapharma, really, when they're getting paid for their services. So they're would imagine. I don't know that for fact, but if that's a requirement, that may be true.
Commissioner Richards, did that answer your question, or?
Yeah, but I had another question about how much per donation, not yearly.
How much per donation? So it varies really depending on location, depending on competitors. So this particular location's got a CSL in an area, similar to when a Shell station opens up across the intersection from an Exxon station. Each of them, a little price war. They lower their gas by 2 cents. The other one lowers there by 3 cents, and they finally get to where they're equal for price, and then they try to give better customer service. Very
so
similar.
You're in competition then, right?
Very similar with the plasma industry. We all know what our competitors are doing. We know what CSL is paying. CSL knows what we're paying. you know, what specials we're running and all that. Everybody runs different specials, but a donor could make up to $400 a month. They could easily make, the new donors are going to make probably $50 donation. And from there, I don't know exactly, because again, it depends on the market, and I'm just not up on that, all the different markets and whatnot. And so, monthly specials, you know, your sixth donation of the month, you get a bonus. At number 8, you get a bonus, or whatever that particular type of scenario.
Okay, question?
Commissioner Rappaport.
Thank you very much, Chairman Sharp. So just very briefly, commenting on the Social Security ID requirement, because they're giving a payment, it would be income, derived income. So it may actually be, and I'm speaking only on speculation, as I know my colleague Michael Voigt would also couch his commentary very carefully as an attorney. I would assume that getting the Social Security number and reporting that would actually be for tax reasons, at least in part. But I did want to make a number of comments, and I had a few questions. I'm going to apologize. I'm known for being both frank and long-winded, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time for both. But before I get into this, I do want to make sure that I express my personal appreciation, and I hope the appreciation of this commission for the interest of Octapharma in bringing their business to our community. Please don't take our pushback as a wholesale dismissal of your interest. We have a conflicting commitment here, both to the well-being of financial and future well-being of our community, and of course to our present community and their hopes, desires, and dreams for what they'd like to see opening up at a very important corner to this community. And I hope that our appreciation isn't lost in our concern and our pursuit of meeting both of these goals. Also, before I got into this, I wanted to compliment Attorney Michael Voigt. Once again, although we're not going to completely agree on every point that you make, I found your presentation to be both eloquent and very complimentary for your client's cause. And now I'll get into some things that I definitely want to speak to. And the first is, as brought up by Mr. Voigt, I want to make sure that we all understand that there's a very legitimate concern for a claim of exclusionary zoning with regard to this issue. And I guess for this purpose, I need to ask through the chair to the administration, if Mo's still awake out there. Number one, is there a better location in Westland for Octapharma? And has there been any other interest besides Octapharma in this particular location? Like we can agree that we would like a different sort of business at this corner, but we would also have to acknowledge that the times might be changing to where that desire might not actually be reasonable anymore. So if I could cede the floor quickly to the administration.
Go ahead, Director.
Okay, so the second question, the answer is I personally have had a couple calls, at least 2 calls pre-pandemic onset of restaurant volunteers that were interested in the property. I'm not sure if they communicated with the owner, but they did communicate with me. I don't have documentation of that, but I did get that interest pre-pandemic. Number two, I simply can't answer the first question. I don't. Westland's either the 10th or 11th biggest city in the state, so there's plenty of locations, but I don't want to speak on behalf of the petitioner if there's a better location or not. So I'll leave it at that as my answer to that question.
I guess a simple yes, there is a more preferable location would actually satisfy my concern as to exclusionary zoning.
So in my opinion, and I think it's the planning department and administration's opinion that there are better locations of several of them, yes. And the petitioner, I think, is aware of at least one other location. Early in their discovery phase, they had requested zoning verification letters of 4 total properties, I believe. Initially it was 3, and then they asked for a follow-up for a 4th. So there are other locations, and others are well suited, specifically one that they asked for. So, yes.
Thank you very much, Director. So reclaiming the floor, I want to make a couple of comments. We did get letters, and they were concerning. Some of them were concerned with parking and the possibility that that parking overflows would disadvantage the florist shop next door. I guess my question with regard to that would ultimately go to the petitioner, as realizing that that is a concern. What steps, if any, would you take to make sure that that you would be proactive about making sure that your neighboring businesses are not disadvantaged by any potential parking overages if that were to start happening? I'm going to retain for just a moment while I go through a couple of my points. I wanted to make sure that the petitioner heard me and was very well aware that although we are only a recommending body, ultimately they're going to go before the city council, who has, while we generally filter out whether something is generally acceptable under the ordinances, the city council has a little bit more direct responsibility to their constituency. And so issues like that, I'm sure Mr. Voigt will make you more than aware of, such as NIMBY, the not in my backyard issues, and certainly positively addressing the stigmatas that have been brought up by some of my colleagues here regarding a belief about what sort of clientele that would be imposed, especially when considering that you are opening up very near to residential areas. And the last is the last that I definitely wanted to make sure that the petitioner heard and had an opportunity to discuss is the traffic issue. Now, some of the letters suggested that by comparison to the existing blood plasma donation center, that they noticed that there's a high volume that goes through that particular location and does in fact cause traffic issues. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. However, that is actually a concern that was brought up in the letters, and I wanted to at least have an opportunity for the petitioner to comment on that. With that, actually, I don't believe I have any other comments or questions that needed addressing, but I would like to hear once I cede the floor from the petitioner on those questions.
The petitioners, do you have any more questions or knowledge you wish to share?
I mean, I would, of course, want to respond to the direct questions posed by Commissioner Rappaport.
Yes.
If I could. Okay, great. And Carrie, you can jump in if there's something operational here. I'll go back to kind of one of the first things you were talking about in your questions to Mr. Ayub about, is there a place in Westland? We have a concern about a potential exclusionary zoning issue here. Is there a better place in Westland? And when pressed, then he gave you the short answer, and it was a brilliant deposition line of questioning to get there. That yes, he said, yes, there was a spot. But when you peel back the layer of that answer a little bit, you can say yes, but it's not anywhere in CB3, which is the most broadest use of scope, because anywhere CB3 would be fatally flawed under this analysis because it would not meet the master plan. And anywhere in CB1 and office and retail, they would all be fatally flawed because they would all fail to be consistent with the future land use plan under that analysis. If we're saying that that's fatal to a special land use request, then anywhere that they go, that's any commercial district, will not work because it's either a lesser use of CB2, a lesser use of CB1, or a lesser use of CB3. So, you can say yes, that there are better places, but when you actually look at the ordinance, and you can go back to that slide where I compare the future land use to the existing land use, you can say yes, but under this analysis where you can never have a special land use if you're in any way inconsistent with the future land use designation, and if we can't be in CB3 or commercial or community commercial, then we can't be anywhere. We're not an industrial use by any stretch of the imagination. We're certainly not residential. So that leaves us a commercial in one of the commercial categories. And we're here in the absolute broadest scope of allowable commercial uses. And to say that we're not allowed as a special land use when we're actually a designated special land use now, as of a few weeks ago, then there's nowhere we can go. And there's no other site we can apply for, because all the other sites that we applied for or that we not applied for, but discussed preliminarily in our due diligence were CB3s and CB2s. So under this analysis, we can't go to any of those. And it would be futile to submit an application under this rule, under this sort of analysis. That's my comment there. And, the traffic, well, I guess as you put the NIMBY, the not in my backyard, that is true, of course. And Mr. Ayub was kind enough to share with me that we got I saw one email and 2 letters from residents nearby. A couple of which you just said flatly they're against. I won't be able to attend, but I'm against. And then, as they indicated, a few people said, or one person said, we already have a CSL plasma place down the road. We don't need another one. And while I understand, and they're perfectly entitled to their opinion, I respect their opinions. There is no ordinance standard saying that one competitor can't be. McDonald's is almost always across the street from a Burger King. Said an Amoco is almost always across the street from a Shell. Simply saying we already have a gas station, we don't want another one. That's not a basis for denying a special land use request.
Well, Michael, just to interrupt you, and I'm sorry about that. We actually have recently done that to Kroger. So,
well, I understand when it's I get your perspective that it can be done, but I meant as far as in this situation under special land use criteria that we're talking about, there's nothing that says proximity to an existing use of a similar nature as a consideration for the commission. That was really my only.
Please continue. I apologize.
No worries. And the other concerns, this commission, kind of drilled right to the heart of it. I think it might have been Mr. Williams earlier said, what stereotypes, what sort of obstacles do you have to overcome? These are them. These are these obstacles. We need to establish that we are a first-rate commercial operation that comes in and does good things in the community, and we stay and we improve the area that we're in. And that's really the kind of the gist of the letter too, the one that added a little color as to why they don't want it. They referenced there's an opioid center going in down the road, and while that may or not be true, I don't know anything about that. It's apples and oranges, and it has nothing to do with the price of apples, to mix metaphors and analogies. But that may be the case, and they may feel uncomfortable. They may have some sort of kind of preconceived notions about how these types of uses operate based on their past experiences, but they're not based on Octapharma's use. And based on the evidence we've submitted and the record this business has created with the 100+ locations throughout the country, it's not a justified concern. It's a respected concern. I understand it. They're entitled to their opinion. But again, it's not a standard under the ordinance. And frankly, we aren't what they are fearing us to be, and nor is our clientele, as they are regulated by multiple kind of levels of regulation and control through Octapharma's policies. I might have missed one, but a traffic, I know you mentioned something about traffic, and they said that the CSL plasma, is my understanding, is is maybe Wildwood shopping center. It's in a big large shopping center that's combined with numerous uses. I think a tobacco shop, a liquor store, a couple of department stores, clothing stores, and it's a shared parking facility. So to say that, and I don't know exactly where their analysis came from, that they're causing traffic issues there. I guess they could be causing traffic issues there, but they're in a communal parking situation. They do not have my understanding is they don't have a standalone lot with their own 74 dedicated parking spaces. They're sharing with Dollar General, they're sharing with a Wild Bill Tobacco, they're sharing with everybody in their plaza. So I don't know, there's no evidence in the record as to what their traffic is, but I can say that we, as the staff report indicated, we've passed parking muster. We have the capacity based on the square footage in our operations. And from a business standpoint, we have, as Carrie indicated, we have no concerns that our operations would be so flush with parking that it would cause a problem for us, much less a problem for neighboring businesses. More important, and also to that point, and I could be wrong, and Dave Rea is on the phone and he's the broker for the owner. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that's a common parcel, or a common ownership between the flower shop that was specifically referenced and the site that we're here talking about today. So I think they're very much not going to do anything to if that is the case, Dave, if it's not the case, correct me. I thought it was all part of one development at one point, but that is correct. So even while they wouldn't do it, even if they didn't own the flower shop or the building where the flower shop is, they're certainly not going to bite off their nose to spite their face when they own both commercial uses, essentially.
Well, thank you very much for those answers, Michael. And I just wanted to cede the floor by saying a very general statement that although I am not very comfortable disagreeing with the administration, but I have a very strong belief that a viable use is better than allowing the property to dwindle and fall into disrepair and waste. To be perfectly frank, I respect the administration's and the master plan's desire for a more traditional retail establishment at this location, but given the realities that we may be looking at moving into a future economy that's completely uncertain, I really honestly don't know if we're going to have a much better offer of a business to move into this particular location. And with that, I will cede the floor.
Okay. Commissioner Stackhouse.
Yeah, just this is the last question. This was in regard to the proof of residence. When you're talking proof of residence, are we talking Westland? Are we talking Michigan? Or are we talking just the United States in general?
No, we're talking that they have a residence. In other words, a recent utility bill that's in their name, or a bill that came to their address, just to prove that they're not living in a van on the corner.
Okay, so that they're specifically just residing somewhere.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Clisted, or Mr. Clisted, do you have another question, another statement, or are you good?
No, I did want to, I do remember one question or something I wanted to bring up that has to do with the community and our donor centers that I did not bring up. Our donor plasma centers become part of the community. Like I said, they'll join the local Chamber of Commerce if there is one. And they, each donor center, at least one time a year, does a community outreach program, whether that is Habitat for Humanity, a coat drive, a food drive. an AIDS walk, whatever that center for the community. And they have the donors right with them. If they're doing an AIDS walk, they encourage their donors to walk with them. Food drive or a coat drive, they encourage them to bring in the donations, and they'll get a raffle ticket for something along that lines. But we're engaged with the community. Like I said, we want to be here long term. We want to be part of your community, and we want to be able to give back.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Spezak.
Hi, I'm up, eh?
You are up, sir.
I want to go back to one thing, a question. How many times a week, you mentioned, can a donor give?
They can donate twice a week maximum.
In 7 days, is that correct?
Correct.
Or 6 days?
No, in the 7-day period, they can donate 2 times.
Okay. Twice. And how do we market the business?
That would be a question for my marketing group that I cannot answer.
You got to tell somebody. Somebody got to know it there, right?
Absolutely, and it all depends on the market and how they approach that. Whether it's we usually don't do TV. TV is extremely expensive, but they will do ads depending on the market. Newspaper, they're doing anything in between that. But again, that's up to our marketing department. A lot of it is word of mouth. We encourage our donors to do a buddy program, bring in a buddy and get a bonus type thing.
Well, I'm about to make a motion, but I would like to commend Area Construction. They've been very active in the Westland community. They did do both of those properties that you're talking about, the flower store and the drug store, and they did across the street. That's their property also. And they built a subdivision in Westland, and a pretty nice one in Canton, better than they did in Westland.
Commissioner Spezak.
What?
If I could, Commissioner Wilson has a question.
Oh,
and
sure.
I'll get right back to you.
Actually, it's not a question. We have 2 residents that I'm in looking at the attendees list that would like to
speak.
Oh, well, that's good.
No, I'm sorry. My fault.
That's why you got us.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is a public hearing, so is there anyone in our listening audience that would like to speak? If you'd identify yourself. Yes, Mrs. Akers. Can you hear me?
Her mic is muted.
Your mic is muted. You won't be able to hear me. Yeah, you will be able to hear me. Your mic is muted, Mrs. Akers. If you could unmute your mic, and there'll be an icon on your computer that'll allow you to do that. Is there anyone else in the audience? We'll give her a chance to straighten out her equipment. Anyone else in the listening audience that wishes to speak on this? Anyone else? Yes, Andrew, I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name. I'd apologize right in front, but I think your mic is muted also. Can you hear me? We cannot hear you.
Down on the bottom, there's a microphone. You got to touch it. You got to touch the bottom of the screen.
There's an icon on the bottom of your screen that has a microphone and a slash through it. If you touch that, that will open your microphone.
Hello, this is Andrew.
Andrew, we can hear you now.
Okay. I'll let my wife talk.
Feedback.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute my mic, but I don't know what was going on.
Wait a minute. We got a horrible, we're getting a double voice from you. Have you got something else you're listening to? Are you listening to us? You have to shut one off in order to speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
That is much better. Thank you.
I live in the house right behind the Rite Aid. And actually, I tell you, I'm gonna cry if this place comes in here. I just don't feel like, I feel like it's way too close to a residential area to put one of those in. And to be honest with you, there's not 74 parking spaces there. If they are, they're talking about being in thrifty parking places, the thrifty flowers too. And by this intersection here is already a dangerous intersection. That is going to cause a lot of traffic coming in and out of there. And people that are giving blood, sometimes they get like confused and they are weak and pass out. Well, that could cause some traffic accidents right there too. But first of all, I've got small grandkids. Putting this donor blood plasma place in here is bad because this backs right up in my backyard. I could used to see right into Rite Aid from a bedroom in my house, which Rite Aid never gave us a problem. They were great people. They never gave us any problem. We never had anything, out of hand with them. But I foresee this plasma thing going in, not a good thing for the neighbors and existing neighbors around me.
Okay, well, very, very good. Thank you very much for your comments. I'm glad you was able to get your microphone taken care of. And everybody here could hear your comments, everybody on the commission. Thank you very much.
My husband, do you want to say something?
Yes. They say something about just getting a hold of people within a 300-foot radius.
Really can't understand you, sir. If you can speak louder, and we are getting that feedback again. Could you restate your position? Are you still there, sir?
He said something about public notices, and everyone within 300 feet measuring from closest property line to property line was notified of the hearing.
Okay.
Which is probably why I received the letters.
Very good. Are you capable of clearing the screen again now, sir?
Craig, you want to give Donna another try?
Can anybody see their screen?
Can see it.
I can see you.
I have all sorts of things on my screen: Google Chrome, mail, register, settings, calculator, and none of those I touched. I did not touch my equipment, so I have no idea.
Well, it's all right. We could see you. Just don't do anything else and you'll be fine.
Okay, as long as you can hear me.
Yep, you're good.
I can't see anybody.
You probably minimized Zoom, but you're fine.
Very good.
Donna Akers, you are now allowed to talk again. You will need to unmute your microphone.
Donna, there's a microphone icon bottom left-hand side of your screen. If your screen looks like mine, you have to click on that to turn your microphone on, assuming you have a microphone.
Is it possible that she's using a phone?
Doesn't make a difference. She can still unmute it.
Yep.
At this time, I'm going to say that there's difficulties with their Zoom app. She might need to update it to allow her to unmute.
Okay.
Up to you, Commissioner Sharp, on whether or not to continue with this.
Well, if she can't get through, then we will, is there anyone else in our listening audience? Anyone else?
If not, I'd like to make one quick comment.
Yes.
Please. For the two commissioners, the two attendees that are on the phone, if any others, this will be moving to the city council meeting on September, 21st. The city council meeting will either be here at City Hall or on Zoom. I'm not sure yet. It starts at 7 p.m. So you'll have another opportunity to speak then. Thanks, Chairman.
Commissioner Spezak, I cannot see you, but
anyway, I would like to once again compliment the area construction. Tony Ray came in this town a long time ago and did some good things, and he developed that corner. And apparently the person who lives back in the house on Pardo Street wasn't there when the bar was right next to her, so. Anyway, I'd like to close the public hearing and move case number 1258E, proposed special land use for blood plasma donation clinic at 363 Ford Road, south side of Ford Road, east of Wayne Road, Octapharma. Recommendation based on all the aforementioned facts and analysis that have been discussed, the administration, planning department, planning commission recommend that this petition be forwarded with a recommendation for denial.
Support.
I don't know who supported that.
Sam.
Sam, okay, so motion by Commissioner Spezak, supported by Commissioner Drani for denial. Roll call, please.
Roll call vote to deny the special land use proposal at 35363 Ford Road. Durante?
Yes.
Folks?
No.
Rappaport?
No.
Richards?
Yes.
Sharp?
Yes.
Spezak?
Yes.
Stachow?
No.
Williams?
You're on
Williams, you gotta unmute.
No.
Wilson, you're the tiebreaker.
Oh, wow, thank you. Yes.
You got 5 yeses and 4 noes. Motion to deny carries to the city council.
Quick question to the administration, who's currently taking a record of our minutes. Will the vote be reflected along with the recommendation for denial?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I need to rewatch this to
Thank you very
figure
much.
that out, but yes.
I would make a comment to Mr. Vogt or Chris there that when you go to city council, for me, you'd have to be a little more with clarity on how you train your employees to draw blood. I don't believe you can have one person in there to draw blood with that many people. So that was kind of, to me, clarity was not in that. I would recommend that you have that clarity before you go to city council.
Thank you for that note.
Mr. Ayub, do you have anything else?
Trying to take this roll call vote, but I'll just figure it out in the morning. No, we have 3 items for next month's meeting, a rezoning, a land use or a land split, and a 2 land splits. And that's it. That's all I wanted to share with you. If there are any holidays, Labor Day, enjoy your Labor Day weekend that's coming up weekend. And that's it. Thank you.
With that, I
Rosh
move that we
Hashanah's
adjourn.
coming up.
Mr. Sharp,
Yes,
may I ask Mr. Ayub to do me a favor?
absolutely.
Case number 2242. Could you please close the public hearing for me? I forgot to do it.
No, you did. You did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
You did it.
Thank
You
you.
just didn't waive the normal rules. It was just implied.
Thank you.
It's possible that will come back. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to play it out with the petitioners tomorrow morning, but they were 100% notified, and I had a conversation here with them at City Hall, so I'm certain that they knew tonight was the meeting. I'm not sure if they had trouble logging in on Zoom or not, but
If there's no other business, a motion is ordered for adjournment.
So moved.
Support.
Whoever made those, identify yourself to our planning director. I cannot see anybody.
Rappaport was the movement.
And who supported it?
I did.
Okay,
thanks.
all right. Thank you, everyone. I'm sorry I can't see your smiling faces as this ends, but
She'll see you.
yeah, can you? I don't know. So I better not act up. Is that correct?
Correct.
I can't see anybody other than a whole bunch of things on here that I didn't put on there, so I don't know what they are. But
All right,
anyway,
take care, guys.
thank you everybody for all your
Hope
comments.
to see you next time at the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time, hopefully in person.
We didn't vote.
And everybody have a
We
happy and
didn't
safe
vote
new
to
year.
dismiss the
Yeah,
meeting.
everybody have a safe holiday. Thank you.
We didn't vote to dismiss the meeting.
What's that?
Were you
We
going to vote
didn't
against
vote
it?
to dismiss.
We just voted though.
No, we didn't.
Aye. There you go.
You
To
never
vote in
asked
the
who,
meeting.
all those in support.
To vote to end the
I
meeting.
said there was a motion for adjournment.
Yes, but you didn't ask for a roll call vote or a I vote.
All right, roll call. I said all in favor. A roll call vote for adjournment, please.
No, all in favor, say aye.
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 It may be more fun on TV. I'll see you guys.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, Dave.
What?
Dave.